Alright guys, welcome back to another Pokemon TCG Pocket video on my channel. So, as you can see, I finally managed to reach Master Ball rank, and those were like 3 very difficult days actually. Like, I mean, come on. The amount of games I lost back to back, like literally destroyed I have been. Crazy. So, at the end, I managed to pull through, managed to reach Master Ball rank. Just getting to the rank is enough for me. Like, I cannot be bothered literally to just grind and grind and grind to be on a higher rank. Just getting to Master Ball rank and having the emblem or the badge in my profile is all I really aspire to achieve. And in this video, I would like to show you guys all the decks which I used, every deck, because you gotta remember, I have already been to Master Ball rank previous season. So that means I'm gonna start in Ultra Ball 3, right? So every deck which got me from Ultra Ball 3 up until Master Ball rank, I'm gonna be showing you guys these decks in this video. So let's get down with the first one. Now I actually used a couple of decks here, right? A couple of decks I actually used. But there are a couple of decks which actually made it happen the most, right? So let's actually look at the first one. Where was it? Which one did I use first? All right, yeah, the Charizard EX solo deck. Now this one essentially was the deck which I used right in the beginning. Right, I actually started playing with this deck, and then I actually pulled through with this deck almost to the halfway mark of Ultra Ball 3. But the problem is there was a specific chicken nugget Pokemon, you know, the yellow little dancing bird, which actually on day 1, day 2, they were actually very annoying because a lot of people used to play them. So this deck had its troubles in the first 1 or 2 days, right? It was very tough whenever I faced one of those opponents to actually get through to him and to be able to beat those decks. Most of the times I had to just concede because I just couldn't do anything, right? So yeah. Now the second deck which I used a lot was this one, the Tsareena Celebi deck. This one actually was one of my favorites. Best coin flip deck in the game, definitely. It almost got me all the way to Ultra Ball 4. This deck won me so many matches back to back up until I started encountering a losing streak where I just kept losing because RNG, bad pulls, and so forth. So yeah, that deck was at times very tough. Because obviously you're running a deck which has to evolve, right? And you're running a bit, you're not running a deck which is going to do constant damage, right? You're always relying on the perfect coin flip. So that is one of those things you have to consider. But the good thing about this deck is it costs so less energy, right? Tsareena just needs 1 energy, does up until 150 damage. Celebi on the bench can be built up, is crazy good when you have the right amount of energy on it. So this deck essentially made a lot of progress from me, right? With this deck, I almost hit the Ultra Ball rank 4 until, again, I said, I started encountering a losing streak. Now, there is a couple of strategies involved playing this deck, right? If you want to play properly, obviously, you have to get used to a specific deck. Obviously, there is options of running, for example, Lily instead of Erica, but Erica also heals Celebi, so you might as well want to keep this one. You might also want to think about running Sabrina or Cyrus in this deck. So there is different ways of maybe playing around with this deck to make it more optimized, right? But in general, yeah. This one, deck number 3, Solgaleo EX and Skarmory. This deck essentially just was also very good. It's one of those decks which probably is currently in a lot of tier lists, especially Asian tier lists, like the top tier #1 deck, which a lot of people are actually playing, and it is crazy, right? Solgaleo EX just gets you to the active position. Skarmory does pressure very early in the match, right? With a Pokemon tool attached to it. You're doing a lot of damage. On the original version of this deck, which a lot of people are playing, there is Tsareena instead of Guzma, right? Now, I actually replaced Tsareena for Guzma because I actually found that Guzma was way more reliant for me. Especially yesterday, day before yesterday, when I faced a lot of decks which were relying a lot on Pokemon tools. Guzma actually made a lot of difference when actually battling. So that's why I actually included him in the deck instead of Tsareena. And I'm still running Cyrus. So you might want to play around with the build of this deck a little. But the way this deck is showcased here, you could actually just use it as you see it and then literally just plow your way through ranked mode. You may even want to play the Poisonous Arrow instead of the Rocky Helmet. But yeah, that's totally your choice, right? So this one, Giratina Darkrai, the next deck, almost same as previous meta. However, this deck actually has an addition, the little birdie, and a few other things. Very strong deck. This one helped me a lot as well to break specific points or specific sticking points during my ranked climb. I'm also running, there is options. I actually switched this around. At times I was running 2 times Mars. So 1 Mars and 2 Mars instead of 1 Guzma. And at times I was running it like this. So this, the way you're seeing it now, is probably the most balanced way, which I can recommend if you want to make it work the best, right? So the chicken nugget Pokemon Oricorio here is essentially just there to stall your opponent's EX Pokemon until you have your back row ready by ear. Then the Dragonite deck. Now this deck was one of my favorites. This deck was very, very busted. It got me to a point where I had 12 wins back to back in Ultra Ball 4, and it was crazy. Crazy, this deck, literally crazy. The only problem here is the dual energy typing, which can be sometimes troublesome, where I had, like, for example, on a turn I needed, for example, electric, and that's the turn where I only got water, so it essentially just didn't give me what I want to. But in general, this deck actually performs extremely well. Dragonite fits very well with Oricorio, and the rare candy just tops it all off. So definitely one of those decks I can highly recommend anyone giving a shot. You may want to replace one of those potions with maybe another Lily, or you may want to play about, maybe put in a Tsareena instead of Guzma. I just found Guzma very good in this deck. You may even want to get rid of the cape and maybe throw something else in there. Probably a Mars. Mars wouldn't be a bad choice. Completely leaving out any Pokemon attachments, Pokemon tools in this deck wouldn't be a bad choice, right? But anyways, you gotta test it yourself and then actually see how you wanna play this deck, right? But in general speaking, those are the decks which I used, right? There are a couple of decks which I use here and there. I used this Rampadas deck, but it was so trash in my case. Like, literally had one fight where I didn't draw anything, just one of those little doggies, and then just lost. And I thought, nah, into the trash bin with this one. I didn't really like it at all. Then, oh yeah, by the way, this Gengar control deck, the one I showcased once before, this one was actually one I played in the beginning quite a lot too, until I switched to Charizard. So this one was also very good. But yeah, overall, these are the decks which, there are a couple of decks which I played a bit, but the decks I've showcased just before are my major decks. Now, the deck which I highly recommend the most to be playing is, before I mention this, obviously, you gotta consider the meta changes every day, right? Like yesterday, for example, Oricorio was very dominant. Today, it's not the case. Today, 50 games, I didn't face more than one Oricorio in a given deck, right? So if you want to do something, if I'm showcasing you now my favorite and my highest recommendation, best recommendation, then I can only recommend to you guys running today, right? Pushing through. Set yourself a goal. Say to yourself, I'm gonna I'm gonna do 100 matches with this deck. And the deck which I mean is the Charizard deck. Now, the Charizard deck is essentially that deck which I literally can recommend this deck to anyone. The best deck, which essentially got me all the way to Master Ball rank at the end. Very, very reliable, extremely damaging to your opponents, and yeah, very consistent. Now, there is other options as well. For example, playing maybe Cyrus instead of 2 Sabreenas, or maybe running 2 Pokeballs if you feel like, even though there is not really a need for it, but getting a second Pokeball quicker. You may want to play around with this, but the way you're seeing the deck right now on your screen is the way I highly recommend you to actually build it and then actually play with this deck. This deck will probably get most of you to Master Ball rank. And in general, if you're struggling with ranked and so forth, set yourself a goal. For example, like, say to yourself, I am gonna do 100 matches today, and I'm not gonna stop until I finish those 100 matches, right? So for example, you're playing this deck and you're losing 20, doesn't matter, just keep on going, because if you keep that sort of mindset, you will 100% reach Master Ball rank within a good time as well, right? So there is no need to rush yourself, but again, keeping your mind, or making the right mindset, will definitely help you a lot to reach Master Ball rank in orderly fashion. And yeah, with that, I wish everyone best of fun with ranking up, playing ranked. And if you need any assistance with any deck builds, do let me know down below in the comment sections. And as always, thanks for tuning in. Take care of yourselves. Until next time.